The moment my cousin threw me into the pool, I knew something was wrong. The water rushed into my ears. My head felt strange and heavy. When I came up from the water, everything around me sounded far away and broken. Then I remembered. My hearing aids, $6,000. Gone in one stupid second. And the worst part? Everyone at the party was laughing. My name is Ilara, and hearing has never been easy for me. For years, I lived in a quiet world. Sounds came and went like weak shadows. Sometimes I could hear people talking, but the words were blurry, like someone speaking behind a wall. I learned to read lips. I learned to smile when I was not sure what someone said. But it was exhausting. Every conversation felt like work. Last year, my doctor finally said something that changed everything. Ilara, he told me gently, you need hearing aids. Good ones. I remember sitting there, holding the paper with the price on it. $6,000. I laughed a little when I saw the number. 6,000? I asked. The doctor nodded. They are high quality. They will change your life. And he was right. I saved for months. I worked overtime. I skipped vacations and shopping. When I finally got them, it felt like the world had color again. Birds, wind, footsteps, even the small sound of ice in a glass. Everything felt new. For the first time in years, I did not feel broken. A week after getting my hearing aids, my grandmother celebrated her birthday. Our family always made big events for birthdays. Food, music, drinks, loud talking. The party was at her house, and she had a big backyard with a swimming pool. Normally, I liked family gatherings. But there was one person who always ruined them. My cousin Callan. Callan was the golden child of our generation. Everyone loved him. He was tall, charming, loud, and always joking. People said he was fun. But to me, he was just annoying. Callan loved pranks. Dumb pranks. He once filled someone's car with balloons. Another time, he switched the salt and sugar in the kitchen. Everyone laughed. I didn't. Because Callan never understood the word stop. If someone said no, he laughed harder. If someone got angry, he said they were too serious. And of course, our family always defended him. Oh, that's just Callan, they would say. It's harmless. But I never trusted him. The day of the party was warm and bright. The backyard was full of people. My aunts were cooking on the grill. My uncles were drinking beer and telling old stories. My grandmother sat in a big chair while everyone hugged her and gave her gifts. I had just come back from the salon that morning. My hair was perfect. Soft waves, carefully styled. I remember touching my hair and smiling. For once, I felt confident. My hearing aids were hidden under my hair. Almost no one could see them. I was sitting on the porch, eating a slice of cake, when I saw Callan looking at me. He had that stupid grin on his face, the one that meant trouble. He walked over with 2 drinks in his hands. Ilara, he said loudly, you look fancy today. I sighed quietly. Thank you, I said. He looked at my hair and laughed. Wow, someone spent money today. I rolled my eyes. Please don't start, Callan. He leaned closer. I was thinking, he said slowly. The pool looks lonely. My stomach dropped. No, I said immediately. He laughed. Oh, relax. I'm joking. But he was not joking. I knew that look. A few minutes later, I stood up to throw away my plate. That was when I felt 2 strong arms grab me from behind. I froze. Callan! I shouted. He lifted me like I weighed nothing. People around us started laughing. Callan, stop! Someone said. But they were laughing too. I struggled in his arms. Put me down! I said loudly. He walked toward the pool. Come on, he said. Just a quick swim. Callan, I'm serious, I said. Stop. My voice was not playful. I meant every word. Put me down. He laughed again. You worry too much. The edge of the pool was only a few steps away. My heart started racing. Callan! He paused for a moment. Then he said the words that still make my blood boil. Don't worry, it will be funny. And he threw me into the water. The shock was instant. Cold water swallowed me. My hair, my clothes, everything was soaked. I came up coughing. People were clapping and laughing. But something felt wrong, very wrong. My ears felt heavy. The sounds around me were strange, distant, like broken radio noise. My heart started beating faster. Slowly, I touched behind my ears. My fingers found the small shapes. My hearing aids. But they were not working, not at all. Water had filled them. My stomach dropped. No, no, no. I climbed out of the pool, shaking. Callan walked over, still laughing. See? That wasn't so bad. I looked at him. My voice was shaking. My hearing aids, I said. He frowned. What? My hearing aids, I said louder. They were in my ears. His smile slowly disappeared. You have hearing aids? I stared at him. Yes! He scratched the back of his head. Oh. Whoops! Just one word. Whoops! I felt something inside my chest crack. You ruined them, I said quietly. He shrugged. I didn't know. They cost $6,000. For the first time all day, Callan looked shocked. 6,000? He said. Yes. I waited. I thought he would apologize. I thought he would say he would help fix the problem. But instead, he laughed nervously. Yeah, that's not happening. And in that moment, I realized something. This was not an accident. This was the beginning of a fight that would tear my entire family apart. For a moment, I thought Callan was joking. I stood there beside the pool, my clothes dripping water onto the porch. My hair, which I had spent hours fixing that morning, hung in heavy wet strands around my face. But I did not care about my hair. All I could think about were my hearing aids. $6,000. I slowly took them out of my ears. Water dripped from the tiny devices into my hand. My stomach twisted. They were dead. I looked at Callan again. You need to replace these, I said quietly. He stared at me like I had just said something crazy. Replace them? He said. Yes. Callan laughed again, but this time the laugh sounded uncomfortable. Ilara, relax, he said. Just dry them out or something. That's not how hearing aids work, he shrugged. Well, I didn't know you were wearing them. I felt my hands shaking. I told you to put me down. You always say that, he replied. I thought you were being dramatic. Around us, some of our family members were watching now. The laughing had stopped. My Aunt Tamsin walked closer. What's going on? She asked. I turned toward her. Callan threw me into the pool, I said. My hearing aids were in my ears. They're destroyed. Tamsin looked at the tiny devices in my hand. Oh, that's unfortunate, she said. Unfortunate. That word felt like a slap. They cost $6,000, I said. Her eyebrows jumped. 6,000? Yes. She looked at Callan. Callan, did you know she had hearing aids? Callan shook his head quickly. No, she never told anyone. I stared at him. I didn't hide them, I said. You just never listened to anyone. He rolled his eyes. Oh, come on, Ilara. I took a deep breath. You need to pay for them. The backyard became very quiet. Callan blinked at me. Pay for them? He repeated. Yes. His face changed. The joking, relaxed expression disappeared. Instead, his voice became sharp. "No way!" I felt heat rising in my chest. "You broke them." "I didn't mean to." "That doesn't matter," I said. Callan crossed his arms. "Ilara, I'm not paying $6,000 because you jumped in the pool." My jaw dropped. "You threw me!" He shrugged again. "Same difference." More family members slowly gathered around us. My mother, Leora, stepped forward. "Ilara, what happened?" she asked. I explained everything again. While I spoke, Callan leaned against the table like he was bored. When I finished, my mother sighed. "Well, accidents happen," she said softly. I stared at her. "Mom, he ruined my hearing aids." "I know," she said, "but $6,000 is a lot of money." "Yes," I said slowly, "which is why he should pay for them." Before my mother could answer, another voice spoke. It was my Uncle Soren, Callan's father. "Absolutely not." Everyone turned toward him. Soren walked forward with a serious look. "My son is not paying you $6,000. My chest tightened. "He threw me in the pool." "He didn't know about your hearing aids," Soren said firmly. "That doesn't change what happened." Soren shook his head. "Ilara, you make more money than anyone in this family." I blinked. "What does that have to do with anything?" "You can afford new ones." My hands clenched. "That's not the point." Callan finally spoke again. "Look, I'm barely surviving right now," he said. "I work at a call center. I'm in college. I have a baby." Some people nodded with sympathy. I felt something bitter in my throat. "So that means you can destroy my things." "I didn't destroy them on purpose." "But you did destroy them." Callan threw his hands up. "Oh my God, Ilara, stop acting like I robbed you." His girlfriend, Brielle, stepped closer now. She was holding their small baby. She looked tired and worried. "Callan, maybe we should just talk about this later," she said quietly. But Callan was already angry. "No," he snapped. "She's trying to make me pay $6,000 for a stupid prank." "A stupid prank?" I repeated. "You're overreacting." My heart started pounding. "Overreacting?" "Yes," he said loudly. "It was a joke." I looked around at my family. No one was defending me, not one person. Instead, my Aunt Tamsin spoke again. "Ilara, maybe you could just buy new ones." My ears rang. "I already bought new ones," I said slowly. "These." "Well, maybe you could use cheaper ones next time?" I felt like I was standing alone in a room full of strangers. Then my mother touched my arm gently. "Ilara," she said softly, "you earn much more than Callan. You have a good job. This would ruin him." I pulled my arm away. "He ruined my hearing aids." "Yes, but what?" She hesitated. "Family should help each other." The words felt like a knife. Help each other. Callan was the one who hurt me, yet somehow I was the problem. I looked back at Callan. One last time, I gave him a chance. "If you apologize," I said quietly, "and promise to pay me back later, we can figure something out." The entire backyard waited. Even the baby stopped making noise. Callan looked at me, then he smirked. "Yeah, that's not happening." My chest went cold. "No apology?" He shook his head. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You threw me into a pool." "You're being dramatic." "And you're refusing to take responsibility." He laughed again. "Take me to court if you want." The moment the words left his mouth, something inside me changed. The anger disappeared. The sadness disappeared. All that was left was a quiet decision. I nodded slowly. Okay, I said. Callan shrugged. Good luck. I looked around at my family one more time. None of them said a word. Not my mother, not my aunts, not my uncles, not even my grandmother. They all stood there, protecting Callan, the golden child. I slipped my broken hearing aids into my bag. Then I said the words that would start a war. Fine. I'll see you in court. The drive home that night felt very quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. Without my hearing aids, the world sounded far away again. The car engine was only a soft vibration. The voices on the radio were just broken whispers. It felt like I had gone backwards in time. Back to the years when hearing was always a struggle. I kept my hands tight on the steering wheel. Part of me still hoped Callan would send a message. Maybe he would realize how serious this was. Maybe he would say, sorry. Maybe he would say, Alara, I messed up. But my phone stayed silent. When I got home, I sat on my couch and stared at the broken hearing aids in my hand. $6,000. Months of saving, gone in one moment. And the worst part was not the money. It was the way everyone treated it like a joke. Like my problem did not matter. Like I did not matter. I leaned back and closed my eyes. Maybe they're right, I whispered to myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe family was more important than money. But another voice inside me spoke back. He didn't even apologize. That thought would not leave my mind. Not once did Callan say he was sorry. Not once did he ask if I was okay. Instead, he laughed. The next morning, my mother called me. Without my hearing aids, phone calls were difficult, so I put the phone on speaker and turned the volume as high as possible. Alara, she said immediately. We need to talk about yesterday. I already knew what she was going to say. I'm listening, I replied. You cannot take your cousin to court. There it was. I can, I said calmly, but you shouldn't. Why? My mother sighed. Because it will destroy the family. I almost laughed. The family already chose a side. That's not fair, she said. Yes, it is. He didn't mean to break them, but he did. He's young, she continued. He's 25, I said. He has responsibilities, she added. A baby, college, work. I interrupted her. And whose fault is that? She became quiet. Ilara, she said softly, you earn more than him. Much more. I knew that argument would come again. Yes, I said. I worked very hard for that. Exactly, she replied. $6,000 is not life-changing for you. I stared at the wall. But it is for him. That sentence sat heavy in the room. So I should pay for his mistake? I asked. You should forgive him. Has he apologized? She did not answer. That silence told me everything. 2 days later, I went to the hearing clinic. The audiologist, Rowan, greeted me with a warm smile. Ilara, how are the new hearing aids? I slowly placed the broken ones on the table. His smile disappeared. What happened? My cousin threw me into a pool, I said. Rowan looked shocked. Oh no. He picked them up and examined them carefully. After a minute, he sighed. I'm really sorry, he said. They're completely damaged. No repair? He shook his head. Water destroyed the electronics. My chest tightened. So they're gone? Yes. I looked down at my hands. Rowan spoke gently. You can buy another pair, but it will cost the same. 6,000 again. I nodded slowly. I understand. That night, I bought a new pair. I had the money in my savings, but watching the payment leave my account felt painful. Not just because of the money, but because it felt unfair. Very unfair. After I got the new hearing aids, the world became clear again. But something inside me still felt heavy. A week passed. Then another. Callan never contacted me. Not once. Instead, I heard from other family members. My Aunt Tamsin sent me a message. "You should drop this. It's not worth it." My Uncle Soren sent another. "Stop being petty." Even my grandmother called me. "Elara," she said kindly, "family should forgive each other." I asked her one simple question. Did Callan apologize? She hesitated. No. That answer made my decision stronger. One evening, I sat with my close friend Callan at a small cafe. Callan had known me for years. He was one of the few people who truly understood how hard my hearing problems had been. He listened quietly while I told him everything. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "So let me understand," he said slowly. "Your cousin ignored you when you told him to stop." "Yes." "He threw you into a pool." "Yes." "He destroyed $6,000 of medical equipment." "Yes." "And he refuses to apologize or pay?" "Correct." Callan stared at me. "And your family thinks you are the problem?" "Exactly." He shook his head. "Elara, you are not wrong here." Those words felt like a breath of fresh air. "But what about his baby?" I asked quietly. "What about his girlfriend?" Callan leaned forward. "That's not your responsibility." I looked at him. "Are you sure?" "Yes," he said firmly. "Actions have consequences." I stayed silent. Callan continued. "If he had apologized and asked for time, that would be different." I nodded. "That's what I wanted." "But he didn't," Callan said. "No." Callan shrugged. "Then why are you protecting him from the consequences of his own behavior?" That question stayed in my mind all night. Why was I protecting him? Why was everyone protecting him? Because he was the golden child. Because everyone expected me to be the reasonable one, the successful one, the quiet one, the one who would forgive. But something inside me had changed. For years, I worked hard. I saved money. I overcame hearing loss. I built a stable life. And now I was expected to accept disrespect just to keep the peace. I looked at my phone. Then I opened my laptop. My heart beat slowly and steadily. I searched for a lawyer, because Callan had told me something that day beside the pool. "Take me to court if you want." So I decided I would. And once the decision was made, I felt something surprising. Not anger, not sadness, strength. For the first time since the pool incident, I felt completely certain. Callan believed I would never stand up to him. My family believed I would eventually give up. But they were all wrong. Because the next step I took would change everything. I filed the lawsuit. The day I filed the lawsuit, my hands were shaking. Not because I thought I was wrong, but because I knew what would happen next. Family drama, anger, phone calls, messages, maybe even people cutting me out of their lives. Still, I pressed the button and sent the documents. It was done. Callan was officially being sued. 3 days later, my phone exploded with messages. The first one was from my Uncle Soren. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Then came another. "You're actually suing your own cousin?" Then my Aunt Tamsin. "Elara, this is disgusting." And finally my mother. "Please tell me this is a mistake." I sat quietly at my kitchen table while reading them. Not one message asked if I was okay. Not one message said Callan should take responsibility. Instead, every message blamed me. I replied to only one person, my mother. I wrote one simple sentence. He told me to take him to court. Then I put my phone away. 2 weeks later, Callan finally contacted me. It was a text message. Are you serious right now? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Yes. A few seconds later, another message came. You're ruining my life over a prank. I typed slowly. You ruined my hearing aids. There was a long pause. Then his next message appeared. Drop the lawsuit. I shook my head, even though he could not see me. No. Another pause. Then the message that told me everything. I'm not paying you. I sighed and placed my phone down. If that was his final answer, then the court would decide. The court hearing came about a month later. It was a small courtroom, nothing dramatic like in movies. Just a judge, a few chairs, and quiet tension in the air. Callan sat across the room with his father, Soren. His girlfriend Brielle was there too, holding their baby. Callan looked angry the moment he saw me, like I had betrayed him. I sat beside my lawyer and stayed calm. When the hearing began, the judge asked us to explain what happened. My lawyer spoke first. He explained that my cousin had thrown me into a pool after I told him to stop. He explained that my hearing aids were destroyed. Then he showed the receipt, $6,000. The judge looked at Callan. Is this true? She asked. Callan leaned forward. It was a prank, he said quickly. I didn't know she had hearing aids. The judge raised an eyebrow. Did she tell you to stop? Callan hesitated. Yes. And you continued anyway? He shifted in his chair. Yes. The judge nodded slowly. Then she asked the final question. Did you offer to replace the damaged hearing aids? Callan crossed his arms. No. The courtroom went quiet. After a few minutes of discussion, the judge made her decision. Mr. Callan, she said firmly, you are responsible for the damage caused. My heart started beating faster. You are ordered to pay $6,000 to the plaintiff. Callan's face turned red. What? He said loudly. The judge looked unimpressed. You ignored her request to stop. Your actions caused the damage. You are legally responsible. The gavel hit the table. The case was over. I won. But the story did not end there, because Callan still refused to pay. Weeks passed, then months. No payments, no apology, nothing. Finally, my lawyer called me. Ilara, he said, we can take further action. What kind of action? I asked. Wage garnishment. That meant the court could take money directly from Callan's paycheck, 20% of his income. I thought about it carefully. Part of me still hoped he would finally apologize, but he never did, not once. So I agreed. The court approved the order. From that moment forward, 20% of Callan's wages went directly toward paying the debt. That decision created an explosion in my family. My phone filled with angry messages again. My Uncle Soren called me a monster. My Aunt Tamsin said I was heartless. Even my mother cried on the phone. Ilara, he had to drop out of college, she said. He needs to work more hours now. I listened quietly. Then I asked the same question again. Did he apologize? Silence. Always silence. Finally, my mother said softly, No. I nodded, even though she could not see me. Then this is his responsibility. Months passed. The money slowly returned to me, little by little. But something else changed too. For the first time in my life, my family stopped treating me like the quiet one who would always forgive everything. Some relatives stopped speaking to me completely. Others avoided me at gatherings. But strangely, I felt lighter, because something important had finally happened. I stopped accepting disrespect. One day, nearly a year after the pool incident, I saw Callan again at another family event. He looked tired, older. Life had clearly been difficult. For a moment, our eyes met across the room. Neither of us spoke. Then he looked away. Still no apology. And in that moment, I realized something. I did not need one anymore. Because the lesson had already been learned. Actions have consequences. Even for the golden child. Looking back now, people still ask me the same question. Was it really worth it? And my answer is always the same. Yes. Because this was never just about $6,000. It was about respect. It was about accountability. It was about refusing to let someone hurt you and laugh about it. Standing up for yourself is not cruelty. Sometimes, it is the only way people learn. And sometimes, the quiet person everyone underestimates becomes the strongest one in the room.